The award recognizes folks that work tirelessly to protect and preserve our precious environment for future generations and to inspire people to care for, enjoy, and explore their natural world. And tonight, the awardee, Paul, clearly embodies all of that. We had a wonderful video made for Paul tonight that we're going to show you in a second. But first, the video doesn't capture everything Paul's done for us and for this community for a very long time. So I just want to call out a few other things about Paul, who's our Director of Research Emeritus. Over his career, he's published over 100 articles in local and national professional scientific journals. In 2013, Paul received a very prestigious award from the National Weather Service called the John Campanias Holm Award for the incredible work he's done to remarkably accurately record daily weather records for the decades now, which are really invaluable to the nation's climate program going forward. And, yes, that's your class. In 2014, Paul received the highest honor the state university system offers individuals, and that's an honorary doctorate from his alma mater, SUNY New Paltz. And now I'm going to let this video tell you the rest of the story about Paul.
For over 50 years, Paul Huth has been a diligent student of nature, a tireless teacher, and a committed advocate for our little corner of the world, advancing the remarkable legacy first begun by Daniel Smiley. His enthusiasm has inspired countless others to appreciate the wonder of nature, to savor our time in it, and to carefully consider how we treat our precious planet.
Dan became observer in 1938. He basically served for 50 years as the head observer. I was like this young guy who was being paid by a master naturalist to go out with him and work on his specimens, and I thought, God, this is like natural history utopia.
So where we're sitting right now in the Daniel Smiley Research Center, we have an extensive collection of pressed plants, we have some animal specimens, we have all of the index cards that Dan and Paul wrote by hand, narrating their observations that they saw on the land, on a daily basis. That are 15,000 of them sitting in a cabinet, and that's incredibly powerful. But up until recently, it was mostly powerful to people who knew it was here. And so what the Preserve is engaged in now is making that knowledge more available. And so to me, that is really the ultimate testament to Dan and Paul's legacy, is that this information is of critical importance in ways that we may not even understand yet.
Dan had amassed a terrific collection. It's a tremendously valuable archive and collection of materials. Probably one of the best for a single area in the country today. It gives us a sense of depth and responsibility that we really take for the land, is to know the land, to know how it works.
The data at the Daniel Smiley Research Center is the DNA for this whole Shawangunk Ridge.
Respect for the land, but respect for each other. We have that responsibility to share with others.
His enthusiasm is just contagious. People just love it. You know, you can watch their eyes, they're just rapt when they're hearing him talk about what's going on this landscape. And that is such a gift to us here at the Preserve. It's really ensuring the continuity of that legacy and kind of infecting the next generation with that same love for this place. And not only the love for this place, but a real understanding of what's going on underneath the surface.
I first met Paul in the summer of 2018 when I had my first internship at Mohonk Preserve. He acted as a sort of mentor to me and gave me these opportunities to go on outings with him, see how he looks at the natural world, how to slow down and make observations and connect with the world around you in order to help protect it. A lot of my passion and enthusiasm is mirroring Paul's. The fact that he still gets so excited about it makes me get excited.
It's always a really inspiring moment when you meet someone who has such a deep knowledge of the land, and at the same time being willing to share that and sort of pass the baton onto people who are looking to do that same work and carry on that legacy of engagement with the land over time.
When he shares what he knows, he lights up when you show interest. It's like he can't wait to share what he knows. And he's so generous in his sharing. It's a gift that he gives to people.
He carries with him the weight of 50 years of legacy in this place. But he never feels anchored in the past. He is so open-minded. He is thinking constantly toward the future. And so that to me is so rare.
What I find really inspirational about the legacy of both Dan Smiley and Paul Huth is the impact that those two individuals had on protecting such a large area of land. It gives me hope that I could also have a similar impact.
I'm hopeful. I'm an eternal optimist, and I think in this line of work you sort of have to be, and I think that shines through with Paul, and that he is really positive and believes in people's ability to do this work.
We're able to pass this land on to the next generation. We come and go, but the land is always here. And those who love it and understand it own it for a little while.
And down there.
What a treat to be here. And this is my poem to Paul. What gifts you have given to so many of us, your always willingness to stop what you were working on to answer questions and offer advice that was never available anywhere else. You trained us to open our eyes, ears, and our minds to the wonders of this amazing and unique piece of the earth. And because of you, some of us became naturalists, whether we chose to or not. So thank you, Paul, for your years of patient tutoring and advice. You surely changed our lives here in the Hudson Valley and beyond. With grateful thanks from one of your followers, and Guenther.
Thank you, Ann. And where is Paul? Paul, come join me up here. There he is. 50 years with the preserve, Paul has helped advance conservation and stewardship both on and off the ridge. The Daniel Smiley Research Center's natural and cultural history collections have become nationally and internationally recognized thanks to Paul. And perhaps most importantly, Paul, you've continued to inspire people to discover and better understand the role of nature in our lives. In recognition of your lifetime achievements and your continuing contributions to the conservation efforts at Mohonk Preserve, we gratefully present you with the 2022 Longview Conservation Award.
When I think of being here tonight, it gave me a lot of pause because I thought when I come up the mountain so many times over nearly 50 years, how did I get here? What's it all about? Friends, mainly, and the land. I want to read you a few thoughts that I penned down, and I thank Ann Guenther and my friends like Ann, who have been my colleagues over the years to make this all happen. My deepest respect goes to Daniel Smiley, who in 1974 invited me to be a part of the Duck Pond Watershed Survey. We had just bought the Duck Pond parcel in 1973. The survey team was made up of friends, staff, volunteers, and I volunteered with the likes of one of my good friends, Bob Larson. Me doing plants, and Bob doing birds. Little did we know then how much ground we were going to cover and the many friends we would make along the way. I want to thank the Preserve Board over the years, and especially our presidents, Sarah Senior and Ron Knapp, during my time, and the following board members, Louis Carnell, R.V. Flad, and Vince Schaefer, who started and funded the endowment for our Schaefer Intern Fund. Billy Thomas, Keith and Ruth Smiley, Bert Smiley, of course, and the camaraderie we had in doing a transition from one generation to the next. Anna Perry and Kathy Weathers, and my New Paltz Graduate College advisor, Carol Rietzman. We won't say what year that was, for their very much steadfast support and their personal encouragement over many years. And of course, our leaders, Seward Weber and Glenn Hoagland, who were executive director and then became presidents over time, who in their own ways over the decades agreed with and supported my legacy management as director of research. Recognizing the organizational uniqueness of the research department, though at times I know they had to swallow hard. I was asked to become the Preserve's second director of research by Jane Smiley after Dan's passing in May of 1989. Jane invited me one afternoon at Mohonk to the Elms Kitchen, where she offered me tea in her homemade cooker. And we sat there and chatted about things. She said that the request for me to become the second director of research was a collective request she was representing from our organizational boards and the Smiley family, following Dan's wishes. And that if I accepted the call, she and Dan knew that I could and would do the difficult and delicate job of transition. Through my many misgivings, Jane sat there, looking over at me eye to eye, and she told me that if I accepted the challenge at hand, that it would change my life. Jane was right, and the rest, as they say, is history. I'd like to thank Kevin and Julia and the Preserve staff for this special recognition. And I'd like to again thank Steve Jordan for the legacy video, which I think captures Dan and my effort on research and the land. And I'd like to say to Julia and Kevin and the Preserve staff, carry on, move forward. Thank you all very much.
There's more. When it comes to recognizing Paul's amazing achievements, the future of conservation efforts at Mohonk Preserve, we find ourselves in very good company. This award presented to Paul really comes from his Mohonk Preserve colleagues. At the same time, Paul has a great network of friends and supporters from many years of his work here, and recently we had a donor approach us who really has admired Paul's work for generations, and he stepped forward in an extraordinary act of recognition and foresight and generosity, and has asked us to create an endowment in Paul's name, the Paul Huth Endowment Fund, dedicated to advancing the conservation science mission at Mohonk Preserve, and has started the underwriting of it at $100,000. This donor also challenged us to go out and find others who wanted to participate in this recognition of Paul's work in advancing conservation science, to grow the fund through securing additional donations. And we started about a month ago doing that, talking to people we know who know Paul, care about this work, and in just a few weeks the fund has now grown to $239,000. It's been amazing to talk to folks that have wanted to participate in this, and just their generosity and their passion for this work and for Paul is just, it's overwhelming at times. I'd like to acknowledge the lead contributors to the fund, some of who are here tonight, and just ask to please hold your applause till I get through the list. Lead contributors include Tom Barrett, Roger Roloff and Barbara Peterson, Clove Hitch Foundation, Larry and Jill Feldman, Barbara Ginsburg and Ira Schreck, Sam and Joy Grafton, Paul and Ann Huth, Jim Hoover and John Aubrey, Ann Kaplan in memory of her uncle Bob Larson, Mohonk Preserve's cultural historian and Paul Huth's colleague for more than 40 years, Ron and May Knapp, Carol Rietzma, Raymond and Jean Schrag, Sarah Senior, Nina Smiley, Arthur Sulzberger, and many other members of the Mohonk Preserve Board of Directors. Thank you all. We're very excited to honor Paul in this way and thank the many generous supporters who have made such an effort to get this endowment off the ground, to build a stronger financial foundation for our conservation efforts, conservation science efforts, and to really celebrate all that Paul has done. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Kevin. This is a remarkable legacy endowment, and thank you all who have contributed, and all of you here this evening. I just want to give a few remarks in closing that basically sum up where we are as an organization. 60 years ago, this August, in 1962, a longtime Mohonk guest by the name of Joseph K. Ross urged the creation of a foundation for the preservation and continuance of the natural beauty and flora and fauna of the Mohonk property. He wrote to the Smiley family, "My interest in this is prompted by my appreciation for all the good I have received from my many visits to Mohonk since about 1934. No bequest I might make personally would ever adequately thank what Mohonk has really meant to me. As an outsider, I cannot but feel that there are enough friends of Mohonk who would be glad to contribute to a foundation or leave a bequest to make it worthwhile." Within a year, founding of the Mohonk Trust took place at Mohonk here on 26 February 1963. The first signatory to the trust agreement, hereinafter referred to as the donor, was Mabel Craven Smiley, followed by 6 founding trustees: Albert K. Smiley Sr., or Bert as he was known, Mabel's husband and the nephew of the original Albert of Mohonk; Virginia V. Smiley, Daniel Smiley, and Jerome Smiley, and Richard T. Lane and the Reverend Winslow Shaw. The initial fund of $100 was made by the donor, Mabel Craven Smiley, the mother of Dan and Keith. Over the now 6 decades of the Mohonk Preserve, it will be our 60th anniversary next year. Literally thousands and thousands of individuals have followed in Joseph K. Ross's vision, supporting the preserve founding principles with memberships, donations large and small, legacies, their time and talent to make it worthwhile. From my various positions over nearly 50 years as volunteer, a research associate with Dan, and staff member, I would like to thank all of them and all of you here this evening for your generosity, your friendship, and your sharing. And special thanks to the Craven family for the establishment of this honorary Mohonk Preserve Fund in my name. I think Mabel Craven Smiley, Dan, and Keith's mother would be very proud. Thank you.